Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and in this video what we're going to take a look at are 7 common mistakes players will make in, I'll say GAC, and I'll throw in Territory Wars in here as well. These are things that I see content creators make, I see regular players make it, I see my guild members make these mistakes where they, you go and watch something, particularly like you'll watch a counter guide, right? Like if I was to go into my collection here and, oops, guys got a sneak peek there. But everybody's going to look at, okay, how do I beat Galactic Legends? So they're going to go and find the counters for these Galactic Legends, or somebody like Darth Malgus, right? Okay, what counters work against Darth Malgus? And they don't always ask the question, ask certain questions, look at their roster and figure out what they should be doing. So here's the mistakes I see people make, particularly I'll say in GAC most often, because I think in Territory Wars there's a little bit less helpful information out there. So let's take a look here. All right, so the first thing I have is understanding mods. So this is super important. Whenever you're watching a counter guide, any kind of counter video, understand the mods that are behind that situation. For example, everybody loves to say, oh, Fennec beats Lord Vader like it's a given. No, there's a lot of extra work behind the scenes that goes into making sure that Fennec beats Lord Vader. And one of the most important things is mods. So you guys look at my Fennec. I mean, we've got a crazy amount of speed on her. That is a lot of speed, right? Plus 133, particularly when you guys realize that she's got an offense arrow up here. So we're getting 133 while we're missing speed on her. But the biggest thing with her is damage. She needs to have damage. So you guys will see her physical and special offense just ramped crazy high. If you don't have that kind of offense on your Fennec, you're going to struggle against Lord Vader. Not saying that you might not be able to beat a Lord Vader, but higher relic ones with datacrons now, defense, armor, you don't have those things and she's going to struggle. Similarly, Beskar Mando, we've got a lot of critical chance again, or regular Mando, lots of critical chance again. Just understand the mods that are behind some of these characters, that you don't want to be modding them for health against Lord Vader because of the damage over times. And then finally, somebody like Grief, he needs to be fast, right? You need a lot of speed on Grief and then load up. Again, for this particular example, I'm using the Lord Vader counter. There's so many other things where mods play a factor, but I think that's one of the bigger ones. I see a lot of people just not fully comprehend, or not understand that mods are 90% of that battle. That, yes, you need the gear on these characters, you need all this stuff, but even if you have the relic levels and you don't have the mods, you're going to struggle in that fight. All right, the next one is missing Zetas. When you're looking at when you're watching somebody do something, and I love this with with Darth Vader, right? Excuse me, Darth Vader. I love this one. So you'll see somebody who can go ahead and I can take my Darth Vader and go and solo so many different teams, because I not only have the Merciless Massacre Zeta, which is his best Zeta, but I have his No Escape Zeta. And in here, there's 2 pieces that are super important to him being able to beat lots of teams. Number 1, he recovers health and protection when damage over time expires. And secondly, he's immune to turn meter reduction. So now you can't remove his turn meter, and he's at additional survivability. Okay, that's good. But combined with his leadership, where he's going to get, you have a better chance of removing turn meter, but they also regain damage over time whenever it expires. So they stack. That completely changes how much better he is, because not only are those dots sticking, they're going to expire, he recovers health and protection, and then they stay on that character. And that allows you to stack damage over time. So when you watch somebody, like I can use my Darth Vader to beat Kylo Ren Unmasked, because I can just continually stack those damage over times and then use Culling Blade, which is going to deal additional damage for each effect dispelled, and kill him. And guess what? You can throw this Culling Blade, and let's say I don't kill him right off the bat, those damage over times come back up, and I have another chance to go around and do the same thing again. So if you have missing Zetas on a character, particularly like Darth Vader, you are really limiting the teams that he can beat, because you might not have enough survivability. They'll remove your turn meter, or you're not going to be able to deal enough damage because you didn't stack enough damage over times. So make sure you guys do understand that look at all the different pieces that player has, the guide that you're watching. All right, next, relic levels. So this is very important, and it's just as important for ships as it is for characters. So let me explain the ships first. So we've got Admiral Piet, do they have a Relic 8, Relic 9 Executor? But even more importantly, like Beskar Mando and Cad Bane, what are their relic levels? A Gear 12 Cad Bane, or a Gear 12 Cad Bane, or a Gear 12 Beskar Mando is infinitely easier to counter than having additional relic levels on them. And I think a lot of times players don't always recognize that with those, relic levels, additional relic levels, them being more difficult to take out can make your counter more and more complex. So understand that when you're going into the fight. But also from the other side of things, characters like Dark Trooper, if you're watching somebody's Dark Trooper just eat away at a big character, or watching them, eat through a Sith Trooper, what relic level is that Dark Trooper? Again, make sure that you're still keeping in mind, Zetas and mods, but what relic level are they? If they have a Relic 8 Dark Trooper and yours is Relic 3 or, Relic 2 or Gear 12, you might not get that same output as the person you're watching. Same thing with SWGOH. You're watching him, oh, he beats Galactic Legends. And then you bring your Relic 3 SWGOH against a Galactic Legend, and he's getting stomped because he's not dealing enough damage, he doesn't have enough health pool to survive. So you do need to pay attention to relic levels and understand the impact they have on whatever you're watching or whatever you're trying to do, because just because somebody else can do it with what they have doesn't mean with less that you're still going to be able to do that. Keep that in mind, guys. That's a really, really important thing. All right, next we get to our king, guys. You know the drill. We're going to take a brief pause here as we make sure that we get Wampa to Relic 8. The way to do that, get this channel 5,000 subscribers. We hit 5,000. Wampa hits Relic 8. It is that easy, guys. It's free. All you need to do, hit that little subscribe button. So Wampa, our king here. Evaluate options. What I mean here, guys, people always say, oh, if you use Wampa to beat General Grievous, that's a waste. That is one of the worst pieces of advice anyone will ever give you. Wampa beating General Grievous is a staple to a lot of accounts. In fact, for mine, that is a staple, that I use Wampa to beat General Grievous all the time. Not because I can't use Wampa to beat something else, but because I have the tools to beat those other teams for good banners. I might not have the tools to beat General Grievous for good banners if I'm going to use, Bad Batch somewhere else. So Wampa comes into play. Guys, that's the difference between Wampa, beating General Grievous. That, yes, your Wampa, if modded correctly and at the right relic level, can beat Starkiller in a 3v3 scenario all the time. In 5v5, I think it gets a little bit more dicey, but 3v3, he's definitely taken that home. But is that the right thing for you to do? Is that your only option? No. Evaluate it. Figure out how you can beat and where, characters like Wampa or a SWGOH fit into your account. If you do that, you are going to be so much better off, guys. Next piece of advice is know your roster. Don't worry about what your opponent has. You're going to have to play the hand you get dealt regardless. But know your roster. And I have these three characters who are characters you need for Jedi Knight Luke. I think a lot of people will be getting them earlier and earlier now that Jabba is going to be more and more necessary in the game. They're not great characters. I'm just going to say it now, right? But that doesn't mean that for somebody who is your first Galactic Legend is Jabba or Jedi Master Luke and you get these characters at Relics, yes, they're important then. They're not necessarily good in terms of the end game. But to an early account, characters like this are important. So know your roster, right? Notice yours in know your roster. Don't worry about what Fat Phil does. Don't worry about what anybody else does. Worry about your roster. If these guys are some of your only relic characters, they're still a formidable defense for some of the opponents you're going to be facing against. Again, I'm not going to take credit for the random, 8 million accounts facing like a 3 million GP player. I can't help you there. But when you've got two accounts that are around that 3 million galactic power, and these are some of your best relic characters, they're important. That's a big part. So understand that and know your roster. All right, big teams for big fights. I think this is one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten in Grand Arena. Save your big teams for the big fights. What this really is saying, right? What we're trying to portray here. So say there's somebody sets their Jedi Master Luke down, and maybe you're thinking you could do Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is a good one. They set Supreme Leader Kylo Ren down, and you're thinking, you know what? I'm going to use my Jedi Knight Revan, Jedi Knight Luke, Bastila. I'm going to use that team, the Jedi, and counter Supreme Leader Kylo Ren because I'm cool. Okay, so you did that. Well, let's say you fail, right? You fail that. Now you've decimated your Jedi team. So now does your Jedi Master Luke even have the characters to be able to take that Supreme Leader Kylo Ren? If the answer is no, you've probably just lost a Grand Arena. Even if that answer is yes, okay, you've now used 2 teams to take out a Galactic Legend, one of which was your own Galactic Legend. So now you're starting way behind the 8 ball there. Whereas if you just went in with your bigger team, right, you said, you know what, I'm going to use a Galactic Legend, you could save yourself. Now, I understand for some people, your Grand Arena is going to completely hinge on off-meta counters. I completely get that. But come on, guys, save your big teams for your big fights. Don't try and off-meta everything and then you lose. I used to love this one. When everybody was really big into two-shotting Jedi Master Kenobi. And it was comedy. Because you're not really saving anything. Like, you think, oh, I'm saving a Galactic Legend if I beat Supreme Leader Kylo Ren with a non-Galactic Legend team. Yes, but does that free up that Galactic Legend to take out another one? If that answer is no, then you didn't save yourself anything. So save your big teams for your big fights. Your Sith Eternal Emperor, if they have a Jedi Master Luke and you are able to, off-meta counter that Jedi Master Luke with something, are you saving your Sith Eternal to be able to kill another Galactic Legend or another team? That's the real thing, guys. What are you actually saving by off-meta something? If the answer is significant, then do it. But otherwise, save your big teams for your big fights. Go in there, crush that team, and don't drop the battle. Because when you drop battles, that's how you lose Grand Arena, if you didn't know that already. All right, the last one, do or do not. As much advice as Yoda has given us that is so, so good, do or do not, there is no try. He means well, but he's not talking about Grand Arena. Guys, at bare minimum, try. You gotta go in and attempt your Grand Arena. The amount of times I have won Grand Arenas, and I will personally attest to this, I have won so many Grand Arenas because I've gone and forced my opponent to full clear. That, yes, I'm up against somebody with 10 million galactic power, and I go and full clear them, and they make a mistake. Put the ball in their court. Force your opponent to play. Don't just give up. Sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes you're like, you know what? Yes, I'm just going to give up, but at least go in and try. Or the other thing, this is the other one I'll say, with this do or do not. One of the things that I've done a lot too is I've said, you know what? I'm going to go and try to off-meta counter Jedi Master Luke with Maul Mandalorians, right? There's no Revan here. I'm going to try this. And maybe it succeeds. Well, now I'm +1, so now I can keep going through. With those Grand Arenas that you're outmatched, maybe use them if you're like, there's no way I can win. At least try. Force your opponent to play. You might end up winning. I cannot express enough how many times I've won a Grand Arena because my opponent fails on my Executor, fails on a team, or just doesn't play properly. You win, and then you say, oh, well, now I'm in a too high of a skill bracket. But you still got those crystals for winning. And maybe you get into that next bracket and it happens again. So you're giving yourself the ability, like it's always, whenever you can win, win. Don't purposefully tank, always win. Winning is always better than losing, guys. Trust me on that. All right, that's enough of that, guys. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Hopefully it helps you in your Grand Arena. As always, like and subscribe, comment down below. And guys, we're going to leave it on our king, right? Going to leave it on our king here. Love all of you. May the force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.